Okay, I'm stuck. My mask and my glasses got stuck. Good morning, everyone. We welcome you this morning to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Northern Nevada, where it's our mission to grow together in love, faith, justice, and joy. My name is Xiomara Rodriguez, and I am honored to serve as your worship associate this morning. I'm really looking forward to our service today. Some of us bring our best selves to this space, and some of us are bringing our struggling selves, including pieces we might be ashamed of. All of us are welcome here, and all of you are loved. Some of us already have open hearts, and some of us are quite not there yet because our hearts have gotten a little beat up this week and might have forgotten how to trust and open. Your heart is welcome here, no matter how bruised. We welcome you among us. All of us are imperfect, but we're here to drop our defenses and trust that what happens in worship is powerful and life-giving. Together, we affirm that this day and our being together can make each of us braver, more compassionate, and wiser than when we woke up this morning. We welcome you here no matter racial identity, age, economic circumstances, immigration status, sexual orientation, or gender ID. We welcome you here, and we are glad that you are here. If this is the first time for you, please sign up for our newsletter that keeps you informed of all the activities here at UUFNN. Today, the wearing of masks is mandatory. We ask all to respect the wishes of folks and social distance, practice open communication with one another, and be intentional about honoring personal boundaries. For those of you on Zoom, please, you will remain muted during the service, but you can put your comments in the chat box. And you can stay online following service for coffee and conversation. So, no matter where you are today, sit back, enjoy, and remember that you are welcome here.
May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other.
For you at home on Zoom, I invite you all to please get your chalice and light it and join us. And I would like to ask my partner, David, to come here and light our chalice for us. Come into the circle of love and justice. Come into the community of mercy, holiness, and health. Come, and you shall know peace and joy. Memorial Day is one of the most celebrated days in history of the United States of America. Those who died in the name of a nation deserve a special respect and honor. Memorial Day is a commemoration of the heroes who sacrificed their life for their country. We are keeping special gratitude in our hearts to all soldiers who have died during all the wars the United States has been involved in. Memorial Day is the day we stop to remember the many men and women who fought and died with bravery, those who shed their blood and lost their lives for our country, so our country can live in liberty. As the ushers prepare to take this morning offering, may each of us look not just into our wallets or checkbooks to see how much we have with us. Let us all look into our hearts to see what is available there. How much love, how much generosity, how much faith, how much gratitude, how much hope. And let us take our offerings from that account as the ushers pass the basket. For those of you on Zoom, remember that you could do your offering virtually by texting 73256, putting UUFNN in the message box and send. Then follow the instructions to provide your offering. You can also mail a check to the office at 780 Del Monte Lane, Reno, Nevada, 89511. But the slickest and best and cleanest way is to donate, is to sign up for automatic giving. Contact the office. Carol will send you an automatic draft authorization. This month, Share the Plate is Reps for Recovery, which is a one-of-a-kind nonprofit in Reno. R4R offers free fitness classes to those seeking a sober lifestyle and or life of recovery. We strive to strengthen the sober community and health of recovering addicts and alcoholics through fitness coaching, community, and membership. The only membership fee to those in recovery is the desire to be sober and be part of an all-inclusive, judgment-free community. So right now, may our offering begin. I would love for all of you to join me and David in the blessing of our offerings to the work of this fellowship, which is helping more people grow in love, faith, justice, and joy. We dedicate ourselves, and these are offerings. Memorial Day, A Time for Heroes by Nancy Sullivan Gang. I lean against an oak at the side of the road, wishing I were invisible, keeping my distance from my parents on their lawn chair and my younger siblings scampering about. I hope none of my friends saw me there. God forbid they caught me waving one of the small American flags Mom bought at Ben Franklin for a dime. At 16, I was too old and definitely too cool for a small town Memorial Day parade. I ought to be at the lake. I bored. But no, the all-day festivities were mandatory in my family. A high school band marched by, a girl in sequins missing her baton as it tumbled from the sky. Firemen blasted sirens in their polished red trucks. The uniforms on the troops of World War II veterans looked too snug on more than one member. "Here comes Mama," my father shouted. 5 black convertible lumbered down the boulevard. The mayor was in the first, handing out programs. I didn't need to look at one. I knew my Uncle Bud's name was printed on it, as it has been every year since he was killed in Italy, our family hero. And I know that perched on the back seat of one of the cars, waving and smiling, was Mema, my grandmother. She had a corsage on her lapel and a sign in gold embroidered letters on the car, "Gold Star Mother." I hid behind the tree so I wouldn't have to meet her gaze. It wasn't because I didn't love her or appreciated her. She taught me to sew, to call a strike in baseball. She made the greatest cinnamon rolls, which we always ate after the parade. What embarrassed me was all the attention she got for a son who died 20 years earlier. With 4 children and a dozen grandchildren, why linger over this one long-gone loss? I perched from out behind the oak tree just in time to see Mema wave and blow my family a kiss as the motorcade moved on. The purple ribbon on her hat fluttered in the breeze. The rest of the Memorial Day ritual was equally scripted. No use trying to get out of it. I followed my family back to Mema's house, where there was the usual baseball game in the backyard, the old rememberings of Uncle Bud in the kitchen. Helping myself to a cinnamon roll, I retreated to the living room and plopped down on an armchair. There I found myself staring at an army photo of Bud on the bookcase, the uncle I'd never known. I must have looked at him 1,000 times, so proud in his crisp hat and knotted tie. His uniform was decorated with military emblems that I would never decode. As I picked up the photo and turned it over, yellowing tape held a prayer card that read, "Lloyd Bud Heinzman, 1925 to 1944. A great hero. 19 years old when he died, not much older than I was, but a great hero? How could you be a hero at 19? The floorboards creaked behind me. I turned to see Mema coming in from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. I almost hid the photo because I did not want to listen to the same stories I heard year after year. Remember how Bud worked after we lost the farm? At haying season, he worked all day sunrise to sunset, bailing for other farmers. Then he bought me all his wages. He'll say, Mama, someday I'm going to buy you a brand new farm. I promised. There wasn't a better boy in the world. Mema stood beside me for a while, looking at the photo. From outside came the sharp snap of an American flag flying in the breeze and the voices of my cousins sharing my brother at bat. Mema, I asked, what's a hero? Without words, she turned and walked down the hall to the back bedroom. I followed. She opened a bureau drawer and took a small metal box. Then she sank down on the bed. These are Bud's things, she said. They sent them to us after he died. She opened the lid and handed me a telegram dated October 13, 1944. The Secretary of State regrets to inform you that your son, Lloyd Heinzman, was killed in Italy. Here's Bud's wallet, she continued. Even after all those years, it was caked with mud. Inside was Bud's driver's license with the date of his 16th birthday. I compare it with the driver's license I had just received. A photo of Bud holding a little spotted dog fell out of the wallet. Jigs. Bud looked so pleased with his mud. There were other photos in the wallet. Who's this? I asked, pointing to a shot of a pretty dark-haired girl. Marie. Bud dated her in high school. He wanted to marry her when he came back home. A girlfriend? Marriage? How heartbreaking to have a life, plans, and hopes for the future so brutally snuffed out. Sitting on the bed, Mema and I sifted through the treasures in the box. A gold watch that had never been worn again, a sympathy letter from President Roosevelt, and one from Bud's commander. A medal shaped like a heart trimmed with purple ribbon. At the very bottom, the deed to Mema's house. Why is this here, I asked. Because bought this house for me. She explained how after his death, the U.S. government gave her $10,000, and with it, she built the house she was still living in. He kept his promise, all right, Mema said in a quiet voice I'd never heard before. For a long while, the two of us sat there on the bed. Then we put the wallet, the medal, the letters, the watch, the photo, the deed into the metal box. I finally understood why this was so important for Mema and me to remember Uncle Bud on this day. If he had lived longer, he might have built that house for Mema or married his high school girlfriend. There might have been children and grandchildren to remember him by. As it was, there was only that box, the name in the program, and the reminiscing around the kitchen table. I guess he was a hero because he gave everything for what he believed, I said carefully. Yes, child, Mema replied, wiping a tear with the back of her hand. Don't ever forget that. I haven't. Every day with Mema gone, my husband and I take our lawn chairs to the Tree Shade Boulevard on Memorial Day and give our three daughters small American flags that I buy for a quarter at Ben Franklin. I want them to remember that life isn't just about getting what you want. Sometimes it involves giving up the things you love for what you love even more. That many men and women did the same for their country. That's what I think when I see the parade pass by now. And if I close my eyes and imagine, I could still see Mema in her regal purple heart honoring her son, a true American hero.
Thank you to the Bill Quinby folk singers for that song. And thank you, Xiomara, for that reading. In case you don't know, Xiomara was a 20-year veteran of the Coast Guard, spending many of those years in law enforcement. Well, I was a war baby, born soon after the United States entered World War II. Of course, most of us can say we were war babies because just about every generation has or will face that prospect. My parents were born during World War I. The war to end all wars. You can see that didn't quite work out. But it was during this time that a doctor in France who was serving on the front lines wrote a poem called Flanders Field that inspired the selling of poppies to raise money for the war effort. And Xiomara has generously donated what I have in my lapel, red poppies, for anyone to take today out in the gathering room. And so here's the words of Flanders Field, written by John McCrae. In Flanders Field, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing, fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Well, by the time I was entering young adulthood, a military excursion into Southeast Asia was starting to expand and become a major offensive. Oh, it started with just a few advisors sent to Vietnam by President Eisenhower, and then President Kennedy expanded that number. Well, it was during the Johnson administration that combat troops were sent in, and those numbers continued and kept on expanding. So what was my journey during this time? Well, when I entered the University of Nevada in 1960, ROTC was a mandatory course for the first 2 years. I was not impressed. Having to wear a funky uniform once a week and being made to march up and down a football field, it just wasn't my idea of fun. And so by the last semester of my sophomore year, I had decided that it was just a big waste of time. So I just quit going to drill. Well, as a result, I ended up with a D. That's a D as in dog in ROTC. Now it's really, really difficult to almost fail ROTC. But that's what I did. Of course, with that attitude, I also did not do well in many other classes. When the dean of students suggested, or maybe it was he just told me, it was time to leave and come back when I was serious about getting an education. Well, it was also during this time that I had fallen in love with my wife, Lois. And we decided to get married and set a date in June of 1964. Well, since I was no longer in school, I received word that the draft was after me. And we knew that there was an exemption at the time for married men, so what'd we do? We moved the date up to April 4th, and sure enough, on the day of our wedding, I checked the mailbox, and there was a notice to report for physical. So I was able to send a copy of the marriage certificate back, and now I was exempt. Maybe I should have titled this reflection, "How did a non-conforming draft avoider end up being an officer in the United States Army?" Well, now that I was married and I was starting to think like an adult, I wanted to finish my education. Well, the government they needed a lot of recruits, so they dropped that marriage exemption. And I didn't have any other schemes to fall back on. The National Guard was full, as you can imagine, and the Air Force wanted a 4-year commitment, and I wasn't ready for that. So I asked a friend of mine from college what he thought I should do, and he suggested I join ROTC. Yeah, I thought, oh, sure. In the back of my mind, I was thinking about that bad grade, and they would sure want me in. But instead, I said to him, you know, I'm 23 years old. I'm really too old to be in ROTC. His simple reply, well, you want to be an old private or an old lieutenant? So that's what I did. I ended up compressing those courses together. I actually became quite good at drilling the troops. And I learned some really useful things, like how to tightly corner the bed so that it was tight. And then I learned that you had to line up your shirt here, the line here, with the buckle and your zipper, straight line. They called it a gig line. You know, today every morning I get dressed, no matter what I'm wearing, and I still check to make sure that line is straight. Okay, so I did learn a few important things, some more substantial learning. But all the training that we received at the time assumed that we were on our way to Vietnam. Well, by this time, Lois and I had joined the Unitarian Universalist Church. And we had a lot of very interesting and deep discussions about what was happening. And we had decided that this was a terrible war. It was really a big injustice to all involved. Our troops were being sent into Southeast Asia to die or become disabled or come back with PTSD. Little did we know that many years later, some of these soldiers who served would develop cancer as a result of being exposed to Agent Orange. I was having a real moral dilemma. On one hand, I opposed the war and what it stood for, but on the other hand, I had taken this oath. Here's what it said. I, David Bianchi, having been appointed an officer in the Army of the United States, as indicated above in the grade of second lieutenant, do solemnly swear or affirm that I'll support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I'll bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter. So help me God. I had a lot of sleepless nights and finally decided that my role as an officer was to protect to the best of my ability the troops, many of whom did not have a choice about their assignments, and I would do my best by them and for them. As it turned out, I didn't have to deal with any of this dilemma since I was first assigned to Fort Lee, Virginia as a training officer. And while my second assignment was, in fact, in Southeast Asia, it was in the country of Korea, where I spent a year working in the financial capacity. So as soon as my 2-year commitment was done, I got out of the military, returned to Reno. But I now had a more cynical outlook on our military, even though my personal experience was a net positive. I had learned more than I wanted to know. It was during this time that the My Lai incident took place, where our troops had massacred a whole village of civilians, and only one officer was convicted of war crimes. Also, in my job in Korea, I witnessed a lot of waste, perpetuated mostly by upper levels in the military. I would have major disagreements with folks who said things like, "You need to love it or leave it." You remember that? I would say, I can love something and still criticize it, including my country. But my attitude towards celebrating and the mourning the loss of our young people to the violence of war has not changed. We need to respect and honor those who have died, whether the war is just or not. I've had the opportunity to visit many, many times the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C., and I tear up every time I'm there. Our parents and grandparents' generations had their wars. Folks who were young in the 2000s until very recently have faced their own war in the Middle East. War apparently isn't going away, even when we think we've not entered a time when our country is not involved in any major action. But we all know that can change at a moment's notice. So on this Memorial Day, let us remember those who have died and those who are traumatized and disabled. So may it be, and amen.
At this time, I would like to ask all our friends in Zoom, you could put down your comments in the chat box. As we look at the events that took place this last Tuesday in Texas elementary school, just before the end of the school year, my heart once again broke in a few weeks. As I look at my beautiful Afro-Latina great-granddaughter that is just about finishing kindergarten in a mostly minority elementary school here in Reno. On Tuesday, as the news station covered the atrocities at the school and the loss of so many little ones, in contrast to that sorrow was the happiness of my little great-granddaughter as she walked into my house to tell me that in just a few days she was going to be a big first grader. To remind me that she was having pizza party to celebrate the big day and that I better be there. And as I heard her sweet little voice, at the same time I was hearing the news on the television of what was going on in Texas, and my heart was hurting. There were going to be 19 parents, grandparents, brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, and maybe one or two great-grandparents that would not be celebrating the end of the school year with their beautiful little ones. So on this Memorial Day, let's not only remember our fallen heroes, but also all those who have lost their lives to gun violence in this country, and try to remember that beneath all our difference, behind all our diversities, there must be unity to make us one and bind us forever together. So, with a hand in our heart, I want to extend it out. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for his friend. John 15:13. We remember you, we honor you, we love you, and we humbly thank you for your service. A simple thank you is not enough for all that you have endured. We pray that you live on through the loving memories shared by your family and loved ones. We pray that the strives of battles and wounds of war be calmed for eternity, and may you find rest at last, and know that those left behind cherish your spirit, honor your commitment, send their love, and will never forget your sacrifice.
Couple of light announcements. I've got two parties to announce. First, on June 19th, Hearts and Flowers to Kristen as she continues her journey in becoming a UU minister. So, on Sunday, the 19th, right after service, there'll be a light lunch, entertainment, and tributes to Kristen. But you do need to make reservations online before June 9th or sign up in the gathering room. Zoomers, get your tributes to Medora by June 14th so that she can include that in Kristen's Heart and Flowers slideshow. The second party is next Saturday at our house. It'll be an open house. Everyone's invited from 2 to 6, I think Lois said. Okay. Anyway, just show up. there'll be some hors d'oeuvres and drinks available. So I'm looking forward to seeing y'all on Saturday. And I close with these words from Project Plowshare. Lead us from death to life, from falsehood to truth. Lead us from despair to hope, from fear to trust. Lead us from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our hearts, our world, our universe. Amen and namaste.